What is up, guys? Welcome to another video. Another video means another dopamine high, said the buy set and the feel something, and today we're doing another figure review. The figure in question is NECA's Predator 2 Warrior. If you do want to pick one up yourself, you can get them at Target for $36.99. There is no available page for him on the Target website, so you have to get him in person if you do get him at Target. You can get him for $47.99 off the Big Bad Toy Store, $47.38 on Amazon, and for $36.96 on Walmart's website. Like I said with the Golden Angel video, I don't really see many Predator figures in person at Walmart's, so your best luck is, getting them online. But if you do see one in person at Walmart, they'll probably be about the same price as Target's figures, if not maybe a little bit cheaper. But with all that said, before we move on to the review itself, some background information on Warrior for the few who do care. Warrior has the rank of Elite, which he obtained through the Blood Ring, which is a fighting ring gladiator style kind of death match that forbids energy weapons and only uses melee weapons. And despite him holding the rank of Elite long after earning it in the Blood Ring, he revisits this ring to keep his skills fresh and sharp. When he joined the Lost Tribe, he was considered the eldest member right after Greyback, and is considered Greyback's right-hand man, second in command. He is the weapon master of the tribe, and if anything goes wrong in any mission where they need support, they always send in Warrior to fix the problem because of his efficient results. Now, with that brief lore out of the way, we can actually move on to the review. So taking a look at the box here, we have some cool artwork of Warrior, the Predator 2 logo with the title of the figure, some more Predator 2 logo there. The back, we have a description about Warrior, what he's all about, some photos of Warrior, everything that's included, the Predator 2 logo once more. Opening up the box, we can see a nice big photo of Warrior looking all nice and mean, and then of course we have the figure with everything included. And this is an accessory heavy figure, even for a Predator figure. So with all that said, let's get into it. So diving into articulation, starting off with the head, you can rotate it 360 degrees. You can have him look up and down a pretty decent amount before his head pops off, and then you can have him tilt his head side to side for even more range of motion. So very happy overall. You can get a nice spherical rotation, pretty much have him look anywhere you want him to look. So very happy with the range of motion in the head. And then taking a look at the arms of this figure, you can rotate both arms 360 degrees, which is always good to see on these figures. When it comes to bringing up these arms, you can still get an impressive range of motion even with the shoulder piece on his left arm. Sure, it looks a little awkward, but I'm just happy that this figure's armor isn't limiting his range of motion. And then of course on the other arm, he can bring his arm up just fine. When it comes to opening up his arms, still an impressive range of motion for that left arm, and of course the other arm has no issue because there's a smaller shoulder piece there. So very happy that this figure isn't limiting itself. And then the biceps can be rotated 360 degrees, and then of course the figure finally does limit himself here on the left arm. Because of that shoulder piece, you cannot rotate the bicep 360 degrees, but it's not necessarily a deal breaker. Then when we get to the elbow, elbows are double jointed, which I love because it allows the forearm to be brought up even more, and the figure can shoulder tap himself. So very happy to see that this figure has, the ability to have fluent and organic feeling articulation within the elbows and the forearms. And then speaking of forearms, you can rotate them 360 degrees however you please. So very nice to see that on this figure. I know there's some Predator figures where you can't rotate their forearms, but obviously in this case he can. And then moving down to the hands, you can rotate 360 degrees and bend however you please. The same principle they've been doing with other Predator figures. And then overall, I'm very happy with the articulation throughout his arms. Nothing feels limited or like it's gonna break. Everything feels fluent and organic. I would say the only issue that some people might have is that one bicep rotation in the left arm, but I doubt that's gonna bother anyone. And when it comes to the torso, you can rotate it 360 degrees however you please. And then with the upper chest that you can usually rotate 360 degrees, you cannot on this figure because the back piece is connected to his upper back and lower back, so it's just kind of one big piece, despite most Predator figures being able to rotate the upper chest individually, which does kind of hinder the leaning back and forth. Like, he can still lean back and forth, just not as much because of that back piece, and you can kind of get a spherical rotation out of it, but not anything too crazy. So there is a range of motion there, just not as much as I would like it. And some people might hate this, some people might not just care. And finally, we have the legs, and you can get them to do about maybe 95, maybe 99% of a split. You can rotate his legs 360 degrees, which is always good to see on the legs, even with the leg that has the smart disc sheath. And then when it comes to bringing the legs forward, you can have him do that as well. So if you want him to sit down in a chair or whatever, you can have him do that as well. When it comes to the knee, you can get, I want to say, almost a butt kick. I want to say maybe 90-85% of a butt kick. So despite not the full butt kick, it's still pretty decent range of motion there. Nonetheless, you can get running poses or whatever if you wanted to display them that way. So don't worry about that, even if you can't reach his ass with his own foot. And then the feet can rotate 360 degrees and bend however you please, just like with the hands. So overall, pretty happy with the range of motion in the legs and with this figure overall. So let's move on to some other stuff, features and accessories and whatnot. For our first accessory, and that is the big one, which is the swappable head. So you would just take off the one that is originally already on the figure, and then you just put on the one that is included. And for Warrior, it is his head without the biomask, so we get to see that pretty face underneath, and he is looking mean and blue, so very cool. And of course, to put the other head back on, you just pop the one that's on the figure off, and then, you know, just pop the other one on. And it's a very simple process. There you go. And then up next is the plasma caster, and obviously this is the Predator 2 design, and I actually really don't dig this design. It looks weird. I feel like it's way too close to their face, and like a Predator can accidentally burn off his predlocks, and I feel like that his face does hinder the movement of the plasma caster because of how close it is. So removing this head, you can get a better look and, you know, movement out of it. You can pivot it, rotate it, do pretty much whatever you want with it. Then putting the head back on really quick, because there is a piece that is included that is, you know, that should be included with every Predator with a plasma caster, and that is the blast effect. The blast effect looks fine. I have no complaints about it personally, and obviously you just plug it into the barrel of the plasma caster, and it looks like the plasma caster is firing, which is a very cool accessory piece for toyography or anything like that. So yeah, that is the plasma caster included with our Warrior. And moving down to the gauntlets, starting off with the wrist blades. These are the wrist blades we've seen 1,000 times with 1,000 other Predator figures. You just push them in and out for extended or non-extended blades, and they did a really good job with all the wiring and ridges on the gauntlet. So yeah, very nice. And then on the other gauntlet, we have the self-destruction device, which looks really good. You can see the digits on the screen there. All the little details just look really, really good. So very happy with the look and outcome of this gauntlet. And then staying on this gauntlet for another second, we have the panel for the energy flechette. Here it is, as if the flechette was, you know, just inside the gauntlet not being used. And of course you can swap this out for a piece where the panel is brought up a little bit, so it looks like that the Warrior is going to fire his energy flechette at whatever. So I think it's a very cool little small attention to detail that they nailed pretty well. Obviously you don't have to, you know, have it risen. You can have it displayed however you want. I'm probably gonna have mine displayed with the panel down, but I think this was very cool nonetheless. And before getting into the handheld accessories, the hands included with this figure are 2 open hands, 1 halfway closed, halfway open kind of hand, 1 holding hand, and 1 tightly held holding hand. And for the first handheld weapon, we have the smart discs. We've seen these 1,000 times already, so it's the same mold that we're used to seeing. But there's something a little bit different, at least from what I've noticed, and that is the paint job. Usually it's all bronze or it's all silver or gunmetal gray, whatever you want to call it. But in this case, it's actually both, with some color separation, which I think is really cool to see. And even with the extended open one, you can see that the inner parts of it are, you know, silver and gray, so even more color separation there. So I just like that little attention to detail there. But after that, these are the same smart discs that we are used to seeing, and I think that no, they just look good as always. And then for our second weapon, we have the combi stick, and of course we have the extended and compact version. This is a weapon that we also frequently see throughout the Predator figures, and I think they did a good job yet again with the paint and sculpt of this weapon. I will say the only downside to this is that the clip that you can attach this weapon to on the Predator's back went missing. This is the first time I've ever had a clip on the back disappear on me. I don't know if it just didn't come with it or if it like came off when I was making the video or something, but I do not have it. It is lost, and it makes me kind of sad because now I can't display my figure with the combi stick or any weapon that can be mounted on his back But overall, I think they did a fine job with the combi stick. Then for our third weapon, we do have a mace, and I believe this is the first time we are seeing a mace with a Predator figure, and I think NECA did a really good job at interpreting what a mace would look like if a Predator had one. This thing looks mean, it looks aggressive. The visual presentation with painting and sculpting is really good. It looks like it's been used, it's bashed in some skulls, so I'm very happy with the visual execution of this mace. And I do really like the fact that you can actually bend the mace because it's, you know, chains and whatnot, so you can actually look like he's flailing it around, or you can have him carry it over his shoulder or anything like that, just adding more life and character to this weapon and more playability to the figure overall. And I really like how they are adding more weapons to this figure in particular, because his name is Warrior and he is the weapons master of his tribe, so go figure he would get more weapons, and this is just an awesome example and beginning of that. And for the final weapon included is this awesome looking war axe. This actually kind of reminds me of the war axe, the Daedric one from Skyrim actually, at least the silhouette does. I mean, obviously the Daedric axe is black and red, and this is more silver, bronze, and brown, but you know, besides that, this is a really mean and tough looking just battle axe, and I really think it really complements the fact that Warrior owns this weapon, really giving his name some substance and truth, seeing that he owns this weapon. And I think they did an amazing job with the paint job. It looks worn, it looks used, it looks like it's cut off a few heads, and then the sculpting of all the little, you know, cracks and just little marks and just little indents and all that, just all that little detail that they got just looks phenomenal. So I think they did a really good job with this weapon, and I also think this is the first time we're getting a war axe with a Predator figure. Correct me if I am wrong, but overall I think they did a really good job with this weapon's execution. Well, not weapons, but for the final handheld accessories included, and that is a skull and a skull with the spine. These look fine. I think they did a really good job with the paint job and the sculpt. Nothing looks weird or out of place for a skull and a skull with its spine attached to it. I have no complaints overall. I think they just did a fine job with these accessories. And with all that said, we can move on to the visual presentation. So when it comes to the visual presentation of this figure, once again, I think NECA did an outstanding job when it comes to the painting and sculpting of this figure. With the paint job, you know, they did a good job with the shading and just, you know, the different colors that blend and mix with each other, especially on the armor. His armor looks worn, it looks used, it looks like there's a story to tell, it's been through battle, stuff like that. When it comes to his skin, you know, Predators have different skin tones and patterns, and they did a really good job with Warriors, you know, with all the different shades of blue mixing and blending with each other. So overall, I'm very happy with that. And then when it comes to the sculpt, obviously going back to the armor and having it look worn, you know, there's engravings, there's chips, there's marks, battle damage, scratches, and the same applies towards his helmet. There's just so many little details that they're able to get in his armor that allow for this figure to tell a story, and I just really love that. And then, you know, with the netting across his body, that looks really good as well. It doesn't look, you know, wrong in any kind of way. And then when it comes to his skin, you know, there's wrinkles and folds and stuff like that. Those tiny little details they're able to get down to make this organic being even look more organic. And then with the pred locks, you know, the sculpt, they were able to get all the little rings and stuff like that. Just all the little things they're able to get is just phenomenal, and it just adds to this figure. But this is what we're used to seeing with NECA figures, so what's new, I guess. And just overall, I really dig Warrior's design. I think this is my favorite Predator design that I've reviewed so far, so there's also that. And now let's move on to some size comparisons to put this bad boy into scale. Starting off, we have NECA's Big Chap. Then we have Jazzware's Halo the Spartan Collection, the Rogue Spartan. Jazzware's The World of Halo, Halo Infinite Master Chief. Hasbro's Star Wars The Black Series, the 187th Clone Trooper. And finally, we have McFarlane's The Doomslayer. So here we are at the turntable segment of the video. This is pretty much where I go over what I like, dislike, pros, cons, strengths, weaknesses, stuff like that about the figure, and then adding my own personal opinions and things I would probably like to add or change about this figure. And just to get that sour stuff out of the way first, we're going to go over the cons, dislikes, weaknesses first, whatever you want to call it. Now, the only thing I'm actually really bummed out about when it comes to this figure is the back clip missing. Now, I don't know if I lost it, like I had it and I was unaware that I lost it when it was in my possession, or if it never came with the figure in the first place, or if NECA lost it when they were packaging the figure, or whatever was happening on their side of things. So yeah, the only thing I'm bummed out about is the lack of back clip, but like I said, I don't know if that's my fault or NECA's, but that is, yeah, the only thing that bums me out. But there are two factors I can see bumming out some other people. Me personally, I'm not bothered by these factors, but the factors in question are how on the left arm the bicep cannot rotate 360 degrees because of the shoulder piece, and the fact that the upper chest and the stomach are pretty much one piece because of the back plate merging them together rather than having them be their own individual pieces that can rotate on their own and not needing the other to rotate with it. Personally, like I said, I'm not bothered by this factor. This doesn't break or ruin the figure for me, but some people might find this more of a deal breaker than I personally do. So just throwing that in there with the cons, dislikes, and weaknesses segment of this turntable segment. Moving on things to a more positive light, getting into the pros, strengths, what I like personally about this figure, and starting off with the generic stuff that I love to ramble about, and that's the visual presentation. This is an amazing looking figure that you get, and this is also a really good feeling figure. If you can get past the whole left arm bicep and the upper chest and stomach being merged as one piece, this is a phenomenal like feeling figure as well. Like there's no limitations besides those two places that I mentioned prior. So you get a really good looking and feeling figure. And then the last thing I can think of is the amount of accessories this guy comes with. Predator figures already come with a lot of accessories, but this guy comes with even more. Seeing that he's the weapon master, it makes sense, but I just love how many weapons they gave this guy. It just gives him a lot of variety and, you know, adds to the playability factor of this figure, giving him more value and making it so it's definitely worth that $36 price mark. So yeah, that's pretty much what I like about this figure, how he looks good, feels good, and comes with a bunch of accessories to give you endless, you know, photos and hours of playability. And then things that I would probably change or add or adjust to this figure, and the only thing that really does come to mind is the back piece, the clip for the combi stick or the war axe. I'd make it so every clip is like permanent, like you can't take it out of the figure whatsoever, or I would find a way to make it so it's more secure than just plugging it in. I don't know what that would entail, but that's probably the only adjustment I would make to this figure, is making it so the clip is harder to lose. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this figure. There isn't too much that bothers me about this figure, just the back clip really, and I think that overall this is an amazing feeling and looking figure that comes with a plethora of accessories. So I highly do recommend picking up this figure, and like I said earlier, I actually really love Warrior's design. I think this is my favorite Predator design that I've reviewed so far, so there's also that as well, at least for me personally. So if you have this figure already, please tell me, do you like or dislike this figure? Comment down below. Let's get a conversation started. I like talking about this stuff, obviously, and I'll most likely reply to your comments because I like talking to you guys as well. And with, I think, everything said, we can move on to the outro. So if you did like this video, a like and subscription would be awesome. You don't have to comment. That's a lot of effort. I do get it. But if you want to branch off anything I said in the video, more than welcome to. I like talking about this stuff. Let's get a conversation rolling. And don't worry about the bell. We both know that shit is broken. And if you want to see more content like this, there's plenty of it on the channel. I review a bunch of NECA stuff already when it comes to the Alien and Predator franchise. I also review Star Wars and Halo stuff as well. So if you're interested in that, more than welcome to go check it out. And with all that said, I hope you have an awesome day, and please stay hydrated. It's important.